I'd like to welcome Catherine, otherwise known as CrankyBricks, to this show today. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks so
Hi.
much for having me.
Thank you for joining me. CrankyBricks is, in my opinion, a pillar of the brick building community. You've done so much for the Lego Twitch creators and brick builders in other communities and lugs and circles. So thank you so much for joining me today. In terms of how you would describe your Twitch channel and the community that is Cranky Bricks, what would that be?
Hmm, that's a good question. Yeah, I think I would probably if I'd probably describe myself as predominantly a creative Lego builder on Twitch. If I was introducing myself to somebody who didn't know anything about Lego or Twitch or any of those things,
Hmm.
um, because um, the the thing that interests me most about building with Lego is creating new and different things. So I try to build mocks or my own creations as much as I can,
Yeah.
and it's it's been it's been really helpful. I really like having sort of a team of people supporting me and cheering me on while I'm struggling with really difficult builds. So, I think that's what really, I think for me, defines the community around my channel because we try and support and encourage each other to have fun and enjoy our Lego hobby, however that is. For some people, that's collecting sealed boxes of Lego, and for other people, that's creating new things. But I try and sort of foster the no pressure, just try put some bricks together. That's how I do it kind of attitude. So that's the it's all very chilled.
I like that. I think that you're, a creative. You do a lot of mock building. I think that is very unique amongst the Twitch community. There's a lot of set builders, and which is totally cool. But what I think really stood out to me when I started watching your channel was the fact that, yeah, on the spot, you're like, I'm just gonna build something. Here we go. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and what's really great is it kind of goes wherever it takes you.
Yeah, come
So
for the ride.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
where it's gonna go.
yeah. I know, and I think that's what's really fascinating, and that's why I always love about mock streams. Right? Is the streamers going, I'm gonna make something today. Let's see what comes out of it, and it's always cool to in real time see that thought process of the builder. It's always very cool.
I
Uh,
never thought that so many people would be interested to see it because it doesn't feel like I don't I don't know, it feels difficult to understand why people would feel like there's something to learn from it or
mm,
interesting in it because it just feels like such a meandering and bumbling mixture of thoughts.
yeah.
But I think that, yeah, I'm very grateful that there's a lot of people who are interested in seeing how it goes.
Yeah, I believe that because of you know how mock building can be very, I mean, it's a completely creative thing. And what interests me about, because you said it's weird, it's kind of weird, like I don't know how people would watch that. It's really the trying to figure out, I think, the creative process and the thought process that the builder is going through, right? As they do their thing. I'm often very not vocal in mock streams because I just kind of want to observe and occasionally make a joke or say something funny, but I'm really all about enjoying what the builder is doing and in experiencing in real time, and that's what I love about your streams. Um,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Uh,
Too kind.
Oh, I don't really know your personal Lego story, and I would love to hear it. What got you into Lego?
Yeah, so I think I'm one of an increasing number of people that I'm meeting that kind of describe their Lego journey as it's quite common for people to describe their sort of childhood Lego, then their dark age, and then their adult discovery of Lego. And I think I'm one of the people who I like to say that I had a dim age where I never stopped thinking Lego was cool. I still there's not a very long window between me having accounts on Piron.com or what was the other? Forgotten what it is. Lugnet forums and other things like that. But I didn't really, despite being sort of slightly aware of those things, I didn't really understand what a lug was.
Mhm.
The discoverability of that was very poor. For those who still don't know what that is who are listening to this, then it's a Lego user group and a real life club for Lego
Mhm.
folks. And I think I remember quite clearly at some point in the late 2000s, maybe Googling for Lego communities online and I found the LAN, the Lego Ambassador Network, and I found a page that says apply to be a Lego ambassador. And I thought, "Oh, cool." And then it was like, "Wait, no, you need to be representing a group of this many people and you need to be doing wait, what? That's not what that is." And it's so funny that back then I just didn't find out any further that actually how to find one of those groups and join it. So I had this period where I think a lot of people have where when you're a student or a young professional or you're moving around a lot, you don't have a lot of space for Lego, you don't have a lot of money to buy Lego. A lot of people, my Lego went into storage when I left my childhood home, you know, or people it's in their parents' attic or something like that.
Mhm.
But I did find that even as a late teenager, I was sorting my collection.
Mm.
I was organizing my childhood Lego. That was one of I've always loved that. um, so then I gradually, having studied architecture and engineering and working in building design, I discovered a few Lego architecture sets. I had the Villa Savoie and I was desperate for that. You know, there was the huge box of white bricks that was a
Mhm.
Lego architecture
Yeah.
set. I
Yeah.
was desperate for that, but never felt like I could justify the 2 or 300 pounds or something that cost, and
Yeah.
in hindsight, totally should have just bought it. Um, and eventually, I think it was just a bit of a tipping point, starting to discover some Lego deals and finding things that I thought were just, "What does a Lego city set look like now?" Or, the painful one is, "Oh, there's this really cool theme called elves. Oh, it seems to be ending soon." Um, so that was kind of in the maybe mid-2010s, I was discovering that stuff,
Mm.
and I only discovered my first lug, London AFOLs, I only discovered them in 2017 or 18 or something like that,
Yeah.
and they'd been meeting in a pub opposite my office for 8
Wow.
years, and I had been
Oh,
within a stone's throw of them for 8 years.
that is crazy to know that it was always happening so close to you and you just
Yep,
didn't know
never
about it.
forget. But I made up for lost time,
Yeah.
so now I've done I've been super active with shows, meetings, international conventions,
Mhm.
building Lego, buying Lego, sorting Lego, so yeah, made up for lost time.
So you keep busy in the Lego world between the groups, the online communities, the shows, the conventions. There's a little bit of everything that you're involved in.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's that's really cool. I really like how the story of hey, I've always kind of been into Lego and then I've only gotten more into Lego over the years. That's actually quite in some cases unique, I would think, talking to a lot of the creators on Twitch. A lot of us, like you said, have kind of our dark ages and then maybe we come back and then we become an
Mhm.
AFOL and we kind of rediscover our passion for it. I love that you've always had it, you've always been there, and it's only grown since. Taking that passion for brick building and Lego and then applying it to content creation. How did you find Twitch and what brought you to the platform to eventually stream it?
Well, it's another "it was right in front of my face, but it didn't happen" kind of story.
Oh,
So it's very funny. I still have it. I need to save it. Um, I looked for Lego content on Twitch
mm,
in I don't know, 2018 or 19 or something like that, and I have a screenshot that I took of the only stream that I could find. Um, and I don't there's no particular reason to name any particular names. It's not somebody that's currently active in the community,
mhm,
but it's someone whose content wasn't quite what I expected of
yeah.
Lego on Twitch, and it kind of put me off. of
Oh.
saying, "Oh, okay, this isn't quite the crossover with the various Twitch metas that I want." Um, and so that was just looking as a viewer,
Mhm.
wasn't really thinking about streaming. Um, and because I'd been watching Twitch, I'd been watching gaming streams, and I followed a couple of one of my favorite streamers is a musician, artist, gamer, just sort of that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And so I knew about Twitch before that, but I remember taking a screenshot of the stream and sending it to my friends saying, "This is what Lego and Twitch is, oh my goodness."
Oh, no.
Um, I think it was, I think it was at the beginning of the hot tub meta, if that
Oh,
gives
yeah.
you any clue.
That'll do it.
So that
That
was a bit of a it was a kind of situation, my views on those are all just more power to you, you do what you want, but
yeah.
that isn't what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, it's very funny that I didn't find any of you lot. Um,
Wow.
but I then, when the pandemic hit, I was really missing my Lego crew, and it I don't know what it was, but there was something about my lug Zoom meetings that
Mhm.
just didn't quite I don't know. It was just weird because I was so used to meeting up with them in a pub, chatting to my friends, and I don't know, for some reason it just didn't quite it was after work on a Monday,
Mm.
and that was fine in person, but it just I don't know, there was something about it that didn't hit the spot. So a good friend of mine that I'd met through the international kind of Lego community invited me to a Zoom call that wasn't with my lug, that was fully international, called Sort Lug, and I think a few
Mhm.
people maybe have sort of it's people have heard of it around.
Yeah.
It was just a Zoom call, a Facebook group, but I didn't have Facebook. Um, and through that, I met Brickanista,
Oh, yeah.
Naomi,
Yeah.
and she said, at that point, I was streaming gaming to friends through Discord.
Mhm.
Just through the pandemic, we were just hanging out in Discord, streaming stuff, and people seemed to kind of enjoy it. Played a lot
Mm.
of Valheim, and then Brickanista in particular, along with some supportive friends, just said, "Well, why don't you? This is what I do.
Yeah.
I think you'd be good at it. Give it a go."
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's definitely to thank. Um, there are lots of other factors involved, because I was already comfortable with what Twitch was. I was already comfortable with the sort of Zoom calls.
Right.
I was comfortable with the sort of technology side of things. I, didn't take long to Google how to set up my phone as a camera and that sort of stuff, and
Mhm.
headset microphone, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I sort of felt comfortable to just dive in, but she was really nice and friendly and encouraging. And I think is speaking of, there are so many people like yourselves who are sort of pillars of the community, but I think she's one of those people who are so encouraging and welcoming to people.
Yeah.
She's to credit for why I'm here.
That's great. I didn't realize it was Brickanista who brought you in. That's really cool. And the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta watch the VODs for the rest. You can see my janky streams with, my DIY. I was a very strong believer in don't spend any money on it until you're sure you like it.
Yeah. I think that is probably one of the best ways to look at getting started in streaming, honestly, because I think a lot of people they see a stream and they're like, "Oh, I can do that too. I'm gonna do that too." But you know, first I want the nicer camera or whatever it might be, and I fully agree with you. Do make do with what you have before you really decide whether it's even something you want to keep doing. So, what were those first streams like for you as you were kind of getting accustomed to streaming Lego building on in front of a camera?
I think it was a really easy transition for me because I'd spent for sort of, I don't know, 6 months, I'd spent several hours every Saturday morning building Lego on camera together with people, on Zoom calls.
Yeah.
So, and I'd been streaming on Discord, so it sort of it was to me, it was a really easy transition because a lot of the people that I'd met through that, because of time zones and all these things, there were already people who wanted to come and watch.
Yeah.
So, I think that I also have that to credit for sort of a really welcoming, being introduced by someone who's already part of the community, being sort of brought in like that. It means that I was never okay, maybe not never, but I was rarely sat there talking to nobody.
Mhm.
Um, it's you'd always just there's a couple of people around, and it's interesting how people come and go and change, and who's there from the beginning, and who's sort of comes and goes.
Mhm.
But it was really interesting for me to make that transition, and it was really eased by the fact that there were sort of there were folks around. I didn't just come to it cold, say, "Let's turn this on and see who arrives."
Yeah. That definitely, I think, is a huge factor, because I think for a lot of us who got into this aspect of it is, streaming. You have to figure out, like, how to talk to people, while building, looking, not necessarily at the camera, but, like, having some kind of camera setup, whether it's pointed at your build and you, or just your build, whatever it looks like. So, I think that that's a really cool way to adjust to the whole thing. I think that's really unique, actually, considering, I think, all the creators I've talked to, this is kind of the first instance I've seen of, oh, I've been in Zoom calls, I've been able to do, talk and build Lego in front of other people on camera. So that's
You just
really
changed the
cool.
website.
Yeah, yeah, it's really, yeah, it's really no different when you break it down that way. That must have, yeah, definitely made it feel really natural, I would think.
Yeah,
I
I think it was also just the not setting any kind of crazy targets for myself, just saying, "Okay, what's gonna happen here?" I think, because it's always nice to set the bar low or have no bar at all and then see what happens.
Yeah. How have things changed, for you in terms of, like, your relationship with Lego and building, now that you also do this streaming thing in addition to all the other stuff that you do? Has it changed your, uh, experience in any way with whether it's, other builders, or, how you interact with other AFOLs?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure it has in more ways than I can think of right now.
Mm,
Um, specifically with regard to sort of the interface between my sort of the real world
yeah.
Apple Life and the virtual, is that I've found that having well, everything's a bit up in the air right now, which we can talk about later, but
Yeah, yeah.
having a stream schedule that means that I'm dedicated to a certain number of hours of building per week is
Mhm.
really, really helpful when you want to be working on certain projects for shows and sort of so because you have that working time and then you're taking that into a lug or another format to display it. So I think one of the first things that I was building on stream was a store showcase,
Mm,
because I was looking after. I started during the pandemic looking after one of the sort of our lugs relationship with one of the Lego stores, where we provide them with builds to display in their windows, and it was really tough to get people to build stuff during the pandemic. So I built a lot of them
yeah.
myself, and
Oh, wow.
having a stream schedule to make sure that I did it because we had to keep up a commitment to deliver things to the store
Mhm.
that, yeah, it was really helpful. Um, but I
Yeah.
think you kind of asked about just, like, the community as a whole.
Mhm.
It's a weird other sort of collision of worlds because the people that you meet in the virtual space and the real space, and then they start clashing and coming together.
Yeah.
Um, shout out to Set to Build being the prime example of that. Not all of them are quite so extreme.
Right.
Where you literally move 5,000 miles all across the world.
Yeah.
But I think that still just members of the community who just found things online and are now members of my local lug who
Yeah.
and I get to hang out with. It's like, "Wait a minute, you were watching you were watching my streams back at the beginning,
Yeah.
and now we're just hanging out."
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Especially, like, talking about how those worlds are, in a lot of ways, merging or colliding, and yeah, people you meet online have become a part of your real life, or, people who are part of your real life are starting to maybe poke their head into your streams or your online community. How is that for you?
It's definitely weird.
Mm,
I think mostly it's nice. Um, it's a little bit it does make you kind of a little bit careful
Yeah,
with sort of what you say in what situations and what sort of personal information is where.
right.
Um, because I think the days of the sort of the Zoom calls where everyone was friends on Facebook with their full names and all of their you could scroll back to their school photos if you really wanted to.
Mhm.
Um, I think those days are gone.
Yeah,
Um, and so you do have to be that's one of the things I think you have to be a little bit careful of. But on the other hand, it's like we were talking about just before we started the stream, you feel like you develop these relationships with people.
mm,
And when you meet them in person, whether it's at a TwitchCon or a Lego event or just a stream chat or something, you feel like you already know them. So you build all these cool friendships with people,
yeah,
and then you just meet them in person and you just carry on.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, because when we were talking about it, I had noted that this was actually the first, I think, actual, like, one-to-one interaction, speaking directly to each other, but it's one of those things where you can easily forget that because I think we've been in each other's channel enough times where, like, yeah, we've talked. We know who the other
Yeah.
person is. We're familiar with them. Uh,
And you were there
definitely.
early as well. I remember you were there among my first streams.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I was, oh, look, I was excited that you were mocking, and I was like, this is always cool to see someone, building something, completely original on their own, and so that's what got my attention when I went by your stream, and that's why I kept, coming back saying hi when I was able to, because I love that, and I love the, hey, we're just gonna hang out and we're gonna build and see what happens. Because I'm kind of, at least the attitude, my attitude's very similar. I'm like, we're gonna do whatever and we're gonna hang out. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, with you know, your ex with your in-depth experience, I would say, as a builder and a AFOL and a Lego fan, what's it like going to, all these shows and your experiences with conventions? I I follow you on social media, so I see that you attend a lot of these things. Uh, how is that for you, and what do you love the most about those shows?
Ooh, interesting. So there's there's lots of different types of shows,
Yeah.
and in my mind, I call sort of there's one side which is shows, where the primary purpose of the event is interacting with the public.
Mhm.
So you're talking to kids or adults about what you've built, whether it's saying how many fish can you spot in this ocean build, versus it's did you know the history of this thing, or you know, let me tell you about how we came up with this build.
Yeah.
And that's sort of one side of things. And then what I kind of call conventions are where the main focus is more about sort of socializing with other AFOLs. Often there's a sort of Lego endorsed networking events, the official ones where there's sort of talks and activities and workshops and evening events,
Mhm.
and sort of getting together with people and people that you don't see very often because you live in different parts of the world, but there's a couple of times a year when people sort of congregate. For example, Bricks Cascade was the most recent one that we went to up in the Pacific Northwest, and that was it was great fun because it was the home convention for some good friends that I'd met at another convention,
Mm.
and become really good friends with through just meeting and feeling sort of like-minded people, similar kinds of attitudes to the Lego community and the hobby, meeting them at a convention, and then spending all this time hanging out together online during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, having having planned to go to Bricks Cascade in what was it? Was it March 2020?
Mm.
But only managing to get there in March 2022. So,
Yeah.
long time coming, but I think that both of those types of events can be really, really rewarding,
Yeah.
and they're totally different in my mind. They both involve bringing a suitcase full of Lego to a big hall somewhere,
Right.
but they're different levels of intensity, different kinds of things going on.
Yeah. What do you like in shows compared to conventions and vice versa?
It's interesting because they both have pros and cons.
Mhm.
On, for example, the big conventions, you tend to get I think it depends on the convention. I've heard that some this is more the case than others, that there can be sort of quite a lot of competition or sort of big name AFOL mock builders showing off their next big creation and trying to make sure that they're the next headline on, a Brothers Brick article or a feature or something like that.
Right.
And that can sometimes be inspirational to see, but also feel a lot of pressure um, being among
Yeah.
that sort of crowd.
Yeah.
There's obviously a bit less of that when if you're targeting your audience towards kids. Obviously, kids think it's really cool if you've built something huge and amazing.
Mhm.
But I find that kids are quite happy to talk about, you know, how many fish can you spot? Or
Right.
what's inside this building, or, "Oh, isn't it," they like to just look at particularly scenes, sort of playing out little stories and
Mhm.
scenes, that can be a lot of fun, and so different people have different strengths. I think some people would find the sort of storytelling and just placing some minifigures around a scene. They might not, I don't have any kind of childcare or education or whatever, like, experience. I just do what I think would be fun, and people seem to like it.
Yeah.
But other people find that really intimidating, and they would far rather have in-depth conversations about the exact way to use the newest Technic panel than they would talk to a
Right.
kid,
Right.
and some people vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation. Um, Now, for a lot of these events, you've done some collaborative builds as well. How often do you get to do that, and what's it like to work on these things with other people?
It depends on the scale. It can
Mm,
be really challenging, and
mhm.
it really relies on sort of the type of collaboration that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, for example, with great ball contraptions, I don't know if you've sort of seen those in action
Mhm.
where there's a sort of set of standards of it's sort of, it's a giant contraption that moves Lego balls around each different module, and you can bring a module, and there's a standard system for where it comes in and where it goes out, so you can slot that in, so you can have 30 people bringing them in, and there's obviously still a lot of management involved. I don't want to kind of
Oh,
belittle
yeah.
the people who are doing that, but there's
Yeah.
a standard system that allows people to slot into that. And if you're doing that I'm not very experienced in that because things that move and technic things are difficult. Um,
Mhm.
but for example, collaborative city builds, a Ninjago city or a big street scene or something like that. Again, it really relies on having strong organization and standards to follow to get that uniformity to sort of there's whatever degree is suitable for that display to have that
Yeah.
organization. But my most the collaborative builds that I've enjoyed the most, have been that now that Set to Build and I have actually been able to live together and share our Lego collections and build together,
Yeah.
that's been the most rewarding because
Yeah.
we were able to sort of completely create things. I'm sure he showed the N1 Starfighter at
Yeah.
on his interview that I hope everybody's watched. And it was so much fun to just work together and sort of critique each other's parts of the build
Yeah.
and sort of dive in and say, "Oh, but I really think this bit should be done this way," or, yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've managed to work together without clawing each other's eyes out in anger and, "I can't believe you would ruin it by doing that."
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said, right? Where, especially I would think that you we're all, for those of us that build, or even just those of you who mock, you're fairly used to doing it on your own, and so bringing another
Mhm,
person into the equation really not it complicates things, but it certainly is a whole nother level of not only do we need to solve a particular problem or create a particular thing we set out to do, but now there's the whole other aspect of how do I get there with this other person who has their ideas, and how will they mesh with my ideas? So
mhm.
yeah.
And how will their Lego collection mesh with it? Because
Mm,
some people, it's relatively rare, I think, but people do collaborate and just borrow and share bricks with each other.
Right.
And I've always been way too possessive of my collection. It's like the only kind of collaboration I'm willing to do is where I've got a base plate and all my bricks are on my base plate,
Right.
and there's like a line,
And
right? This
and
is
no
mine, and I get to take it all home again.
no no bricks shall cross to the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's awesome. And with your experience of doing these collaborative builds and your own mocks, you've also, you've talked a little bit about this before and touched on it briefly in our conversation, but like doing Lego commissions. And so tell me more about your experience doing those sort of things as well.
Yeah. It's, can be rewarding,
Yeah.
can be stressful,
Okay.
mostly rewarding.
Mostly.
Um, uh, can be very stressful if you don't plan it well.
Mm.
So I've done a handful. I've not done a lot, but I've done a handful of commission builds on a range of scales.
Mhm.
The biggest one being the one that um, I built a 1 to 50 scale model of a building that my company designed.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, and it would be a little bit too, I think it would be a little bit too doxing for me to post photos of it, which is why most people haven't
Sure.
seen any images on social media and so on. But it's about 5 or 6 feet long and 2 feet wide and 2 3 feet tall, sort
Wow.
of building. And that was I'm really, really glad I did that because it was really enjoyable, but the rate that I got paid for it
Uh,
was not high enough for the amount of time and love that I put into it, but I
yeah.
kind of knew that going in. Whereas I think it's with smaller things, with small projects, I'm happy to just, sort of make a guesstimate of what I think things will be worth. But for anything bigger than sort of a sort of smallish build sort of this size, I would build it virtually first,
Mhm.
price the parts, buy the parts, and assemble it, rather than working from my collection like that because
Yeah.
it's it can be really tough to sort of keep track of what you're doing where and letting the costs run away with you. And obviously it's difficult to you have to make sure that the client knows that Lego is expensive,
Mhm.
and just any kind of art commission, if you think about how long any kind of creative process takes, and you just even if you just take minimum wage and multiply it by those number of hours, um, it's uh, it's really tough. So
Yeah.
my if for anybody considering it, I would think very carefully
Yeah.
about whether it's right for you.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that you can't do it, but just the balance of what your time is worth to you and to others. Just be very careful.
A cautionary tale, if you will.
But it can be so rewarding because
Oh, yeah.
I've built things for I've had friends or colleagues request things to give as gifts for
Yeah.
people's birthdays. That one's a really fun one to do because you get the reaction from somebody in the end, and
When it's
that's really
personal,
rewarding.
right?
Um,
Yeah.
so that kind of thing is really good fun, but, it's definitely not for everyone because you need to have quite a good sort of business mind around, around that, and I'm not saying I do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's thank you for that insight. That's certainly something that doesn't come a lot in these shows, and uh I think that your your perspective is very helpful because I could see how someone might be that sounds really fun, but then if they didn't think about those things, right? Whether it be uh, the cost of time doing that to the size of the project and thinking about all the little things that go into it can definitely, I think, apply a lot more pressure to uh to you if you're trying to get a commission done. But
Yeah.
very very interesting stuff. I didn't realize that I never really thought about that process. But yeah, I mean, it's just like getting any kind of other piece of creative commission, whether you're asking, y-
Mm.
an artist for work, which is the things that I have experienced, working as a customer and requesting it. So sounds
Any
like,
emotes or whatever.
yeah, emotes,
The common one.
definitely. Yeah, that's something all of us streamers probably deal with at some point is talking to an artist about getting it. But it's the same deal in terms of if you're commissioning like a Lego project of some kind. Very cool. Now we know. It can be rewarding, but can also be a lot.
Yeah. And there's a few folks who do it in amongst the brick building community. We've had a couple of times that people have reached out
Mhm.
and said, "I'd like to try and work on this.
Mhm.
Who can help me out?" So there's folks who've got experience of different types of builds and have done various types of things. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who sell instructions for their builds, uh, which I don't do.
Right.
Instructions are hard. That's a no
I
from me.
Yeah. No, I've heard that, and I mean, just thinking about the logistics of that, instructions feel like a lot of work. So, I don't
Yeah,
know I would want to do that either, personally wanting just to do
no.
that
It
aspect
doesn't
of
meet
it.
the threshold of, like, effort to reward for me,
Yeah. You
which
gotta
is
really
really
want that.
sad because I know that there's people out there who see something and they say, "Oh, I'd love to I'd love to have the instructions for building that." You go, "I'm really sorry, but that's a lot of time."
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't can't do that. Sorry. What are your thoughts on the Lego community on Twitch from when you entered it to kinda where it is now? How do you feel about its evolution so far?
It's It's an amazing place. I'm
Yeah.
very That's the first thing to say. I sort of I was aware of Lego content on YouTube before I found Twitch, and like I told you, I almost found Lego on Twitch and didn't quite manage that a few years ago. Um, but discovering that there's sort of just a really just a supportive and friendly network of people. And shout out to Set to Build and Brick and Nick for sort of being the founders and keeping us all together.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that it's I've seen the AFOL community changing a lot over the pandemic,
Mhm.
and I obviously I didn't watch any Lego on Twitch before that, but I
Mhm.
know that there were lots of streamers who were sort of coming in during COVID, and it seems to only be an exponential spike of more people sharing what they do and what they love and
Mhm.
sharing all their thoughts. And I think that it's really nice to have a place where everyone is just sort of everyone feels like they have this welcome and open platform
Mhm.
to sort of share what they love about the hobby. And I think it's been really helpful because although in lots of places sort of we're not in lockdown anymore, so we're not in this mode of sort of being fully online and that's our only outlet for our creative hobbies. I
Mhm.
think there are so many people who haven't had that history of Lego sort of friends or groups in the real world
Right.
that having a really sort of supportive and encouraging and friendly and a welcoming community where people can form friendships and share their love of the brick
Mhm.
together. I think it's really valuable
Yeah.
and it's only growing.
Yeah, I was going to say it's only continuing to grow. There's always, I feel like, new streamers and new viewers coming to the category, or not the category. We wish we had a category, to the tag, all the time. I feel. I think not a week goes by that I don't discover. Like I find a new person um
Mm.
doing it, and
It's so hard to keep up. I feel like that's one of the biggest challenges is that
yeah,
I think a lot of people as viewers and streamers had more time when things were locked down.
yeah,
But even discounting that as a factor,
hmm,
it's for some people, having something on Twitch on the background 24/7 is fine.
Mhm.
But I'm not one of I kind of I struggle with multiple audio inputs at the same time,
Yeah.
and so I'm not a Twitch in the background person. I'm fully watching your stream and engaging with it, or I'm
Yeah.
not. So, for me, that makes it really, really hard to sort of dip in a little bit and get to know people because I can't just have stuff on in the background.
Yeah.
And the type of lots of people will have the type of job where they can have a Twitch stream running while they're doing their job, but that doesn't my brain just can't
Yeah.
process that.
Yeah.
So, I feel kind of at a disadvantage that we have how many did he say? We got 160 something
Yeah. It was
streamers right now?
160 is what I've heard, and
Yeah,
counting, I imagine. But yeah,
and yeah, I feel like I've watched, like, 5 minutes of so many people's streams,
yeah.
or no minutes, because I'm finding new people all the time.
I get that. I've done the whole try to, keep a couple streams open at a time just to kind of, whether I'm supporting the person or, I just kind of want to be there when I'm able to poke my head in and make a joke or say something or react. But like you, I find that it's really difficult to manage that. And so I have, as of late, shifted more to that. I when I'm there, I'm there and I'm engaging and I'm interacting. I can listen, I can talk and what have you. And that's great. But that also means for the other dozen people that are on at the moment or the other people that potentially come on and stream in that time where I'm actually paying attention to someone else, it makes it difficult to keep up, and I've been really making a point to try to find people that I don't normally go to, right? Because you kind of
Mhm.
start to have your here's where I want to go, which is good. That's
Yeah,
great. That's awesome. But I think in the name of trying to also get to know the wider community of brick builders, I've been really making an effort to like, okay, can I find someone with a tag that I've never been to before? Right. And then, but that means I'm probably going to miss out on the other two or three people that I'd probably check out normally during that
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I find that especially because, there's sort of I'm trying moving house and moving city and lots of
Yeah.
real life adulting to do. I find this my sort of social battery
Mm-hmm.
is drains quite quickly. So being if being in a stream is an active process because it's not an in the background thing,
Yeah.
then that can drain quite quickly. So I find that in my kind of downtime, I'm focusing on very sort of one person activities.
Yeah.
I'm sort of playing a game by myself or watching a TV show or doing
Yeah.
something and a very inward looking because my job involves lots of Zoom calls and streams are a little bit too much like that.
Yeah.
So, it, uh, it's really, I think it's very laudable and I very much appreciate that, people like you are having that time and dedication to sort of keep tabs on
Yeah.
everybody that's around because, it's not easy.
Yeah, I completely sympathize with you though, and we'll go. I will sometimes go a week, where I try not to do any of that because, like you said, there's that social battery that you have, right? And uh, yeah, I think that it's really important to be sensitive to where where we're at with that, especially I know a lot of the people who watch this show or watch my streams and people in the greater community very dedicated to the brick builders and the streamers in the in this space. But if you feel like you gotta, just to echo Cranky Bricks' point, you like
Mhm.
take some time, focus on something for just you, right? Where maybe, yeah, like watch a TV show or play a game, where you have your thoughts and you don't have to listen to other streams or things like that. I think it's really important for our energy, and it allows us to be better for when we do engage others, whenever that might be later. So Yeah.
I think that's a nice that for people who are streamers, but also just for viewers as well,
Yeah.
because just being knowing that it's fine to just lurk or to
Mhm.
just be there for 15 minutes or whatever, however you want to be there, we just appreciate that you're there.
Yeah.
And there isn't a sort of requirement to be sort of, I think you talked with Set to Build a lot about the different energies and different vibes in different streams.
Mhm.
And so finding the mood that suits you at the right time and engaging with it the amount that you're comfortable with is a part of sort of feeling welcomed, I think, feeling like it's okay to just have whatever vibe you're comfortable with in that
Absolutely.
moment. And it doesn't always have to be the same one
Yeah.
because I felt the sort of uh kind of do I need to be really energetic all the time because the people like is that why people what people want from Twitch? Or if I have some streams where I'm really chill, but then other streams where I'm really energetic, does that mean
Yeah.
all the people who only like chill stuff are not gonna like the other stuff? And it's sort of it's so you have to sort of like just think, okay, I'm just being me, and
Yeah.
that's what you get.
Yeah.
This isn't like Cranky is not a persona that is like a character that I'm playing.
Right.
It's just me. So you get however I am that day.
That's so valuable, and it's so true. Uh, I think I think a lot of us tend to think that way that you just described, where, are people who are here when I'm really energetic, are they not gonna be here when I decide to just be a lot more relaxed the next time? I think a lot of us think about kind of the meta of people, like, why will people hang out here in this channel, uh, versus
Mhm.
another channel, or versus, when I'm in a good mood versus where I'm in more of a blah mood, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can get so hung up about it because you can start to see correlations of saying, okay, well, when this is what's happening on the stream or the mood that I'm in, this correlates to more people subscribing or more people using bits
Yeah.
or just more numbers, more likes on social media or more viewers or whatever. And you can attribute that to one or other vibe. And
Mhm.
uh, you can feel the pressure to kind of alter yourself to match that. And I feel like sometimes we have to have a bit of reality check and say, of the 160 something people who are
Mm.
streaming brick building on Twitch, how many of those are making a meaningful amount of money from all of those things?
Right.
And because as a percentage of people on Twitch at all, sort of our community is it's so fantastic because if for people who don't know the rest of Twitch very well, there are thousands and thousands of people who have never and will never make it to affiliate because they will never get 3 people in their stream. And so the fact that we're just handed on a platter, here's all these viewers and other streamers that are just here's this community that's just ready to go. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize, and I mean, maybe it's sort of maybe it's unfair to say are ungrateful because maybe they just don't realize how that is compared to like the rest of Twitch because you know about the rest of Twitch. You're
Yeah.
not just a brick builder, you know about
Yeah.
the Twitch culture and community. So I think that people sort of get it can be really exciting and rewarding.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many parallels. I ran a Bricklink store for a while,
Yeah.
and there's so many parallels because you can pour in so much effort and you get a bit of pocket money. Unless you're, like, really, really serious and you're really dedicated to it, you're lucky and talented and dedicated, you're yeah, it's,
Yeah.
sort of take a step back and sort of think, like, it's you get the dopamine hit because someone's given you $5,
Right. Yeah.
but sort of I don't know, the whole thing has definitely, uh, got easier for me once I've got over the initial rush of the first few times that happens and you get that, "Oh, big dopamine hit. I wanna keep doing
Yeah.
whatever it was that made that happen because, oh,
Yeah.
that feels good."
Mhm.
Um, but you can kind of get addicted to it or you can kind of you can be changing your behavior for it, and you can get toxic. You can stop being supportive of each other in the community. You're not building each other up. You're not sort of thinking about why everybody's doing what they're doing, and it's just we're overall a very, I think, welcoming and supportive community. But you see people sort of those divisions being introduced, and you're like, it's like okay, it's like $25. Like, are you really, you know?
Yeah. No,
Is it that big a deal?
that's such a great point. I think that you touched on something that doesn't often, I think, cross the minds of streamers in especially in this space. Because I think that you're absolutely correct that in the brick building Twitch community, that if you are even to some degree on and you do it a certain length of time, the brick building community will find you, and uh they will then support you. Uh and you're right, because it's very different than the greater Twitch community, where there are streams who never, like you said, break 3 concurrent viewers.
Yeah, they have
There's
12 followers,
Yeah,
and one day they get 13 followers. You don't just get 100 from, you know, Brick and Nick finds you and
yeah,
raids you. Here's 50
yeah,
followers,
yeah.
you know?
Here's your 50 followers, and within the next day or two, you will likely hit your concurrent 3 viewers at the very least. So it's actually a phenomenon that I hadn't thought about, but it's so very true that within this community, uh, it's skewed differently, right? Because
Yeah.
there's some stats that came out last year, and this is just in regards to affiliates, not even the greater Twitch streaming community, those that aren't affiliates, but there's a very small percentage of affiliates that don't even get their payouts because they can't break the threshold of
Mhm.
$100 US, or at least here in the US that's what it is, $100 to even get your payout. There's a very small percentage of people that even get that regularly because of the support that is on Twitch. Most people don't get the viewership or even that kind of financial support from their communities. And so I think I agree with you in that we're very lucky as just like a whole community to have such a dedicated viewership. And so I'd never thought
Yeah.
about that. For someone who is a part of the community and they decide, yeah, maybe I want to stream too. Do you have any advice or thoughts for someone who's never done it and maybe want to get into the content creation side of things?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I should point you to the wonderful resources that already exist in the Brick Building Community Discord. There are pages and tips and help and support and trying to get people because a lot of people, particularly again, another unique thing about the brick building community is that people tend to come to Twitch and that's their first taste of Twitch.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of support around how would you even start? And some tips like the things that I mentioned before about don't go out and spend a lot of money until you've just tried it with your own janky setup or whatever you've got.
Yeah.
Just give it a go and reach out. There's loads of people around to help you. And there's 160 other people around who've done it before.
Yeah.
So you can reach out and ask some questions, look for tips, and give it a go. But I think that this is something that lots of us have talked about before is sort of finding your niche because the meta comes and goes
Mhm.
and what's currently popular comes and goes. Streamers are fickle and viewers are fickle. So you just need to find what you love and what you get out of it. And it's like with any hobby, it's why are you doing it? And just being honest with yourself, because if you're saying, "Oh, I'm doing it because I get this dopamine rush when the little bling message goes off when I get a new follower,"
Yeah.
or something like that, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. That
Be
could be the
honest.
reason.
Yeah. That's okay.
Like, we don't need to all be sort of super, all superior about it and say like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally above all of that and I'm just here for the bricks." It's like, yeah, of course it feels good when you get a little alert that,
It's
someone's
true.
pressed the follow button and you say, "Hi, welcome in," or some new person comes in chat and you say, "Hello,
Yeah.
someone's watching what I'm doing." Like, of course that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
But uh yeah, you still have to no one's gonna have fun watching what you're doing if you haven't thought about what it is that you're gonna do. So,
I love that advice. I think that people need to really, uh, try it out, figure out if it's for them, and understand the reason, right? Understand why you do it, because that is the sort of thing that will carry you through the times where you may not be getting a lot of follows, right? Or a lot of viewers, right? It's definitely, I think the allure of being a streamer, right, is very clear. It's like, yeah, people watching you, you get attention, people are watching you, you may even make a little money from it, but it's really like at the end of the day, do you know why you're doing it? And I think that's very important advice. So thank you for that. What continues to motivate you to hit that start streaming button?
I think it's that feedback because it it's when the things that really mean something and make you keep coming back is, getting I had, very early on, I had a really positive exchange with somebody saying, "I really like sort of just your general, the vibe, and I find that, I like the sort of the chill and see how it goes kind of attitude, and I like that we go off on tangents and talk about other things and just chat." And this particular person was really grateful because, their, their child had autism, and so being able to use watching the streams and understanding and having some of those insights and using the Lego hobby as a means of sort of addressing some of those things in common, it's sort of getting that feedback saying, "Yeah, me and my son really enjoy just sort of hanging out with you," basically.
Yeah.
It's that kind of message that's the sort of thing that really keeps you going. Saying, I mean, that's a fairly extreme example because obviously, that's quite a profound and, "Oh my goodness, I have a lot of responsibility now." But there's just folks who say that, "Oh, it's just nice to chill out after work," and, uh, like, I d whether I can or can't afford it, or I do or don't sort of want to get all of the quite as much Lego as you've got. It's
Yeah.
nice to just see you build a set that I know that I'm not gonna get, and it's nice to see someone else build it because I get to experience that without actually going out and buying it.
Yeah.
Even that sort of feedback, it doesn't have to be very profound. Um,
Knowing that someone is positively impacted by your streams and
yeah.
your content.
It's like you imagine this is really good advice, and I don't know who gave me this advice. I don't remember, so I'm sorry, whoever you are. But it's sort of imagine that, uh imagine that you're talking to a room of people, and if you've got 5 people in a room who are all watching you build some Lego and talking about it, that would feel like, wow, that's a lot of attention. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it is.
Um, and even if just one of those people say, "Oh, I had a really good evening,"
Yeah.
like, that sort of gives you the, "Oh yeah, I'm doing something that people enjoy," and whether it helps them chill out or whether they learn something new or they have fun or whatever it is.
Yeah. I love that too. I love getting that feedback, knowing that, perhaps I made some kind of positive impact, that stream, to even one person, right? It's always nice to
Yeah.
know that uh someone's day was a little bit better because they hung out with you while you put some bricks together. Is there anyone on Twitch that you would want to collaborate with that you haven't had an opportunity to?
Oh, you put the second part in there, so I can't just say set to build.
I know, I caught myself because I was like, you probably already do, but
Oh. Actually, so I think the the answer has to be Brickadista
Mhm.
because we've planned for, like, a year and a half ago, we planned, but we've never managed to get the time zones to work out.
Yeah.
We've always been at opposite ends of the brick relay. Um, we've never managed to get that to work out, and we've been talking about it since day 1,
Yeah.
was let's do something together. So, I think that would be really good. It would be really nice for us to be able to sort of build some, chat and build together, and then maybe we managed to actually meet in person at the, Bricks Cascade, convention there. So
Yeah.
being able to build something on a stream together and then bring it in real life,
Yeah.
that applies obviously to loads of people,
Mhm.
but I think I have to pick her because we tried to make this plan
One
like a
day.
year and a half ago, and it's still not happened.
Oh, I'm sure you'll find an opportunity soon. That's a great answer, though. It'd be cool to see that kind of crossover between your two, like you two, and building something together. Like, be very cool to
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, as another, another woman on Twitch, we're lucky in the brick building community to have quite a good amount of all kinds of diversity.
Yeah.
But again, if you think about the rest of Twitch,
Oh yeah.
not so much. And also as a mock builder. So even within the brick building community,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's kind of rare. So
That's yeah. That's why I think that's really interesting to kind of get that crossover because you two represent such a small portion of the community. It's cool to see that. I love it. I think that I think that's really cool. Uh, so if Naomi, if you're listening, or you haven't already gotten a DM from me or CrankyBricks, there's the there's the heads up. What kind of things do you have going on in the future for you and everything you're up to these days? What's going on?
Mm, so lots of things are up in the air
Mhm.
because nothing is ever as smooth as you think it will be.
Mhm.
So a few months ago, left my sort of previous HQ in London,
Mhm.
um, and am temporarily, but for a lot longer than I thought, staying in Cranky Pops in my dad's house, um, and trying to work our way towards sort of the Cranky Bricks and set to build Lego Empire with the creation of our HQ. And it's in the works, but everything we for a little while it looked like we might be able to get that kicking off next month, but it's going to be like next year.
Yeah.
So lots of things in limbo, but in the meantime, trying to sort of keep enough bricks around, keep the passion going.
Mhm.
Since we've moved up to Scotland and joined Tartan Lug, it's our local club up here, and done a couple of shows with them already. It's really, really nice. It's been really fun. So, think sort of keeping that going, but not setting myself too many big challenges right now because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking of challenges, the Lego group are they're notorious for stealing our ideas. It's not an original idea, but they've just announced a competition to build for the 90th birthday, the 90th anniversary of the Lego group, to build a micro scale version of one of your favorite Lego sets. I was like, "Hey, I've done that."
Yeah.
Hey. So that'll be coming up, and I don't know if I've already built some,
Yeah.
but maybe I'll be sort of tweaking them and getting my resident, creative director to help me with some photography and, critiquing and maybe building a couple more, because we'd
Yeah.
always planned to complete the series. There's so many more,
Yeah.
you'd like to build. So
I read that announcement yesterday, and I thought of both of you.
yeah, it's like, hang on, someone's
It's
done that.
like they've
It's
already
not their
done it.
original idea. I can't claim that they stole it from me. But, whenever there's a LEGO Ideas set announced, and then there's always at least one AFOL who's really mad because they're like, "Oh, hey, I came up with that idea."
Yeah, yeah, been there, done that, called it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they accept multiple entries because we've already got, like, 5.
Yeah, you've made quite a few of them. I'm excited to see more actually because I've always I thought those builds were cool. You guys
I
posted
really
those.
wanna do Paradisa, but I was holding off because my Paradisa parts, like, my original 90s parts are in storage.
Oh yeah, man.
So, yeah, we've
Uh,
got a busy few weeks coming up. Might have to find some time to go to a storage container or get on Bricklink
there you go.
because I can't have this competition fly me by without building a Paradisa one. I just wasn't feeling the pressure because I've only got new parts here.
Right. But now there's a reason, or there's some motivation to do it now. And so,
Yeah.
or sooner than later. And so I can't wait to see it if you do. Um can't wait to see what you will enter into it cuz I love the micro builds that you have already done. So, I can't
Thanks.
wait to
Well,
see
I hope
more.
that others try it too. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I
it's challenging, but I I I think the thing with Lego is that anybody can do it. You can just pick it up and play with it. That's the whole point. So
Mhm.
I hope that things like this that I mean, I know they have these kinds of contests all the time, but I hope that I can specifically harass my community and say, "Look, you can do this one."
I think that's a great point, and I agree with you. Not enough people do it. I I've been thinking about doing it. I might go back and maybe reproduce one of my favorite Blacktron sets, or one
Mhm.
of the ones that I built as a kiddo that I loved. And I like that it. I mean, it's hard, but micro builds. I feel like it's reasonable, right? Like I feel like you can, and you don't need a lot of parts to do it generally, so you can
Yeah.
kind of give it a shot.
Sometimes you can find even more than with big builds that you really, really wish that this tiny piece came in that color and it doesn't,
Hmm.
or you don't have it. So it can be frustrating.
Yeah,
But again, you don't need 500,000 parts in your collection. If you really want to, and you don't have to, but if you really want to, you can do some targeted shopping, but it's not overall gonna be a large thing. Hopefully,
yeah.
it's approachable for people.
There's a good question in chat from Dragon Goddess, but basically, what would you say to someone who would insist that they can't mock?
Hmm, well, I don't like the can't, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but I don't know because I still want to be respectful and patient with people who just don't want to do it. But people who say, "I want to, but I can't,"
Hmm.
it's like, what is it about that process? Because I don't feel I feel like it's incredibly rare and people put themselves under a lot of pressure to be like originally creative.
Hmm.
And I was good at art and design at school, but I was like I would draw pictures of things,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not like I'm copying the reality, the world. And that's I think some of that kind of maybe that knowledge or experience or practice is basically what I use when I'm mocking because you're looking at something usually, whether it's something in your mind's eye or a real thing, you're looking at it and you're picking out the key features of it and you're trying to represent it. So whether it's a micro scale copy of a set, if it's an ice planet thing, or yeah, here's one I made earlier. It's sort of this is the Islanders one, and this
Oh,
part is the gotta make that
yes.
work. Because that's like a really that's a this face and the rock
Yeah.
and the boats, the way, picking up some key features and saying, "Okay, what makes that thing its thing?" And I think people I can't claim to be a very good, painter or whatever, but that's what you do when you're sort of creating anything, it's learning how to represent, finding some key features in a real, like, an apple. Here's the shiny bit on the side of it. This is the stalk. This is the dark bit and the light bit. Looking at what's light and dark and where shadows are, and then
Mhm.
replicating that in paint. It's the same thing. I think with mocking is it's all about looking.
Mhm.
It's looking at the thing that you're trying to do, and whether that's in your mind's eye, which is very difficult, or it's
Yeah.
a real thing, which is
Yeah.
easier. It's looking at that and then trying to finding pieces that look like the shapes that you see,
Yeah.
feeling what the key features are, looking like with like set to build, set out the scale of the N1 mock based on, okay, the canopy is really important, and I
Mhm.
know it's hard to represent in Lego, so I'm going to look for the size and scale of canopy pieces that work for this.
Mhm.
Okay, there's this one that's 4 wide. Okay, how does that scale for the rest of the ship?
Yeah.
How big the rest of it's
Because
need to
that
be?
informs the rest of the build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's not about original creativity and completely coming up with new ideas from nothing, because it can look like that from the outside,
Yeah.
and that can be really intimidating. But
Yeah.
I think it's the same as, I think if people sort of, if people are struggling and want some kind of help specifically, because just listening to what I'm saying isn't helpful, I think that uh, finding tutorials about sort of artistic processes is probably a good resource, because I think there are mock tutorials that are based around particular part collections, and like, this is how you connect these two parts together and this is how you might do that. There's loads of brilliant resources.
Yeah.
Like Tips and Bricks is a brilliant resource for that. New Elementary talks about new parts and how you can connect them, but that's all kind of technical. That's like, from an artist perspective, that's like, oh, here's some new types of paint or
Right.
something, but not how do
Right.
you actually look at the thing that you're going to paint and then use the brush to paint.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's still some good advice, right? Like finding something even to just like reproduce, or just having some kind of reference of something you want to do is always a good starting place. So very,
Yeah.
very cool stuff. I think it might have been Brickanista who said this to me, but even taking like small sets and rebricking them is always a good place to
Oh,
start
yeah. Of course.
potentially.
I should have absolutely should mention that
Yeah.
that's how you build up your kind of, you have a sort of a toolbox of how do these things work.
Mhm.
And so, a classic one is, okay, you've built all the modular buildings. The Lego designers have used techniques that some of which were invented by AFOLs.
Yeah.
Oh, they do a door like this. This is how they get the door on a slant, or this is how the window is in the set. This is how they use jumper plates to set the window in or out from the wall that adds a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
You could learn all these things from sets.
Yeah. Very cool. That was part of my personal motivation in all the sets that I've been building over time since I started, because I felt like being being a newly minted AFOL at the time, I was like, I don't know enough about build techniques, so what better way to look at those by also just building some sets and seeing what
Mhm.
what techniques are being used. And I can say now I've seen a lot. And as someone who is still kind of like a little shy about mocking on stream, but like I'll try to do something once in a while.
You
And
dabble.
I dabble a little bit. uh and it's nice because I can think about experiences from just sets I've built. So very great
But
stuff.
even that's too intimidating for you, there are plenty of builders who you can just stack bricks on top of each other, you know?
Hmm.
You can just
Hmm.
start there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be these, it can be very satisfying to find these really special connections where you're doing Lego maths with, like, fractions of the sizes of plates and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But you can just start with putting bricks on top of each other,
Yeah.
put the bricks on top to make a wall and put a window in it, like, you could
Yeah.
start with that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Baby steps are fine. Whatever will get you building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with everything we've talked about today, it has been just wonderful getting to know more about you and your story. Uh, it's I've learned a lot in this short time. Um, Now that you've experienced this thing that is crossing the streams, would you like to see go through this in the future?
Oh, goodness me. I didn't think about this question. Hmm, it's really hard.
It's a hard
I
one.
don't know.
I know. I feel like it gets
Oh,
harder every episode too.
okay. Yeah. So this might also be slightly belying that maybe I haven't seen them all, so maybe that you've already done this.
Okay.
But have you interviewed a virtual builder?
I have not.
Someone who doesn't build with physical bricks. Have you done that already?
I have not done that, and that is a
Okay,
wonderful because I've been meaning to do
there you go.
that.
You need a digital builder.
Got it.
Okay. So if I have to name one, then Asgardian Studio is probably the gonna drop of it. But there are
Yeah,
others.
there are
There are others.
others. Yeah, I was going to
So
say, you know, Thrawn's Revenge just got
yeah,
dropped in the chat as a name. So yeah,
yep,
Virtual Builder, great call
yep.
because that is something we haven't done yet.
Yeah, they can talk about a whole different creative process where you have every part that Lego's ever made in your disposal. You have a way bigger collection than any of us do.
Yeah,
You have every brick that's ever been invented. Is that a
that's almost
blessing or a curse?
yeah. I was going to say that's like I think at first thought my intuition's like, oh, that sounds awesome. But then as I think about it more, I'm like, but that's also kind of stressful because now you have the whole range of parts and you don't know what you can like you know that you could use anything, but you don't know what the right choice is at
Mhm.
that point or if it
Yeah.
makes sense to
Having that bucket of parts in front of you and letting
Mhm.
them speak it sounds very sounds very cliche, letting them speak to you, just playing with
Right.
them.
Yeah.
That's how I work, and I can sometimes use the digital tools, but and it would be great to do things like being able to just change the color of a part that doesn't come in that color, just click a button and now
Yeah.
it's the color you wanted.
Yeah.
But not having those kind of not having that inspiration coming from the physical stuff in front of you, having to think of it yourself and go find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite hard to say.
You know,
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I work in game design as my day job. And so uh we always like in conversations with other designers and as part of my own personal philosophy, a lot of the greatest stuff that we do comes from restrictions or comes from
Yeah.
limitations to some degree, whatever that might be, whether it's a technical limitation that we have based on what we want to make, or, in the example of building with Lego, like the pieces at your disposal, right? Like you kind of have
Mhm.
to, you're more forced to be creative. And so
Yeah.
when you have the whole digital library of Lego bricks at your disposal, like what kind of what kind of solutions can you come up with for the limitations that you almost have to impose on yourself? Because otherwise you're just kind of stuck there going, I could do anything and I don't know what to do. And it becomes almost analysis paralysis at that point. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
gets overwhelming. Yeah, no, virtual builders on the list. So that's a wonderful recommendation. Where can people find you online?
Uh, so I'm CrankyBricks everywhere,
Hmm.
I think. So should I should probably get a TikTok account. I don't have TikTok. Someone's over there. Someone's in the chat right now is making the account so they can hold it ransom for me.
Oh no.
Oh no, I should deal with that.
Mm,
But on Twitch and Instagram, Twitter, places like that,
yeah,
you can
Cranky
check
Bricks.
it out.
Twitch.tv
And
slash Cranky Bricks.
thanks. And at the moment, I'm tending to stream on Sunday evenings.
Okay.
Um, I probably should. I think I probably still have a schedule on my page that is not that is Wednesdays and Sundays, but with moving house and new job and new everything, then weeknights is too much. So it's weekly, once a week at the minute.
Mm, great.
It's always nice to make no promises, and then if you can do something extra, it's great.
Hey, that's totally my boat right now. That's totally what I do.
Yeah,
Outside of crossing the streams, I tell chat, hey, whenever.
yeah.
Be
Turn
on
your
the
notifications on.
Yeah.
You'll
Turn
find
on
out.
yeah, I say turn on notifications or join my Discord if you really want to know when I'm on. So um
Yeah.
you're also deeply involved with the brick building community Discord server and the newly minted team. So
Yeah.
that's also something great because Set to Build was able to announce that on his episode. Um, it seems
Yeah.
like there's more applicants still coming
It's
through.
going
More,
really well.
yeah.
Yeah. We definitely we're getting loads and loads of applicants, and so he's like basically every night he's checking the emails and seeing more people coming in, and yeah, we're really starting to build it up. It's great. I'd be really interested to hear from people, sort of how that's generally been going. I know we talked about it a little bit on his stream yesterday,
Hmm.
and did get a little bit of feedback from some viewers saying that they're already using it to find new people.
Hmm.
So that was the whole point, um, is that the community already existed.
Yeah.
So sort of the fact that it's a stream team, sort of there isn't any more team than there was a community already. Like, it's not a
Right.
different team, like a different group of people or anything like that.
Right.
It's just a web page where if any brick builders are live that are part of that, they'll be there. So viewers can find that sort of I think the way that we were phrasing it is the probably Lego content. If someone clicks on your channel and it's probably Lego,
Yeah.
then apply to join the team so that if a viewer is looking for some probably Lego to watch,
Yeah.
then they can go to twitch.tv/team/brickbuilding
Yep.
and find whoever's on at that moment if they're in the mood for some Lego. So it'll never be perfect until we have a category,
Right.
because then obviously you go to a category and it's anybody who's streaming Lego at that time,
Yeah.
um, will be there. But
Yeah.
until we get that, we've got a page full of people who are probably streaming Lego.
Yeah. Likely. It's more
Yeah,
often than not.
exactly, exactly. And but we still, I think that probably most people in the chat probably already voted for the category.
Yeah.
And I think I looked up, it's the seventh most voted Twitch user voice request for categories.
Yeah.
There's a few above there. I think game development and so on are higher up than that. There's a few sort of in demand new categories, but
Yeah.
it's a come on Twitch, you can do it.
We believe. We believe in you. It's definitely something that I think if it wasn't for the tag, it would be so much more difficult. So I'm glad at
Hmm.
least we have the tag. But yeah, I would love to see an actual category. And if you guys if you haven't voted on the user voice post,
Hmm.
but yeah, please vote on that. And yeah, those of you who aren't familiar with the team, check out the team page, twitch.tv/ is it team. I keep confusing if it has an S or not.
I'm pretty sure it's singular. It's just team.
Yeah, team/brick building.
Yeah.
And you can find a number of us who mostly Lego, mostly build. um
Yeah.
and yeah, and so as Cranky said, there's more apps. Set to Build's been reviewing them, and yeah, please check those out. um as is customary at the end of the show, I always like to give the floor to the guests to make some parting words for those that are listening, or any thoughts that you would like to share.
Hmm. Well, thanks for having me, Chris. I feel I'm honored to be invited as your
Thank you.
guest, and yeah, I'm among among good crowd of people who've been on your show. So I appreciate being included. Um, and I think what would I say to chat or to you? It's hard to not sound very cliched, but just be you, do what you want. Don't be afraid to just mess around, and specifically when it comes to mock building, I'm more than happy if people just don't really wanna do it, but I often come across people who think that they can't or think that there's some sort of mystical art to it. But the answer is lots of practice, trial and error.
Yeah.
Um, just as with any kind of creative endeavor, people say, "Oh, where did you how did you learn to draw so well?" I just practiced a lot. And I wouldn't even say that I'm a good mug builder. You go to these conventions and you see these kind of phenomenal creations, but you just do what's fun. So I think that's my sort of parting thought. Whether you're a streamer or a viewer or whatever it is, just there's lots of horrible things in the world. So do what's fun, do what's nice, look after you, and if that's Lego, then that's fine.